Thank you for being here. So the first thing I'd like to know is why did you decide to specialize in animation films? And if you remember the first animation movie you watched and what struck you about it?
How much we have time? It would be a very long answer. That quite often what happening in life, there is a lot of coincidence. And also finding animation for myself, it was more or less coincident. I wanted to study live action like all young, restless boys and girls. And I didn't find any school, or it was just by chance I found animation school. And I had a secret plan that I will apply there. And after they accept me, I will go as exchange student to some real school, real film school. And that was part of my plan. But after I got accepted, and to be honest, first time I saw really interesting, good, artistically high-level animated films, I started to think it would be nice to try something like that. And I'm still in animation, and I'm really happy. For me, it's you're more like inventor doing animated films. You create technique, you create, it depends, you work with puppets or drawn form, but it's always a lot of creation. You're like filmmaker in Méliès time. You always have to invent some special effects or some technical devices for your film, and that's what I like most. Maybe it's there is a lot of to do first time and to be the first.
Okay, thank you. So now I'd like to know more about your film Zebra. And was it challenging to work without any computer or budget? And why did you decide to do so?
I have worked in very different techniques in animation, and the film Zebra made directly on a film print. That is partly related to the previous answer that it's nice, and what I like about animation, you can experiment a lot. And this film was part of experiment, how it's possible to work with some stamps and paintings directly on a film print. That it's a film which made without a camera. It's really the image is painted by hand on a film print and shown directly on a white screen. That it was more like experiment in the beginning, but after some tests I liked the image, and I finished the film. And yes, this film is almost without any budget. I worked alone, and that is also good if you can work like that. There is no one to write reports, or you have no deadlines. You can really concentrate on a film, and it was interesting experience.
And which do you think could be the meeting point between animation and documentary? And how did you try to combine them in your works, TikTok or Letting Go?
Yes, that's interesting, and that's a movement which quite visible in animation world nowadays, that historically animation and documentary, they have been really separated. But more and more lately, documentary films and animation become closer to each other, and there is term animated documentary, animadoc, which is quite common nowadays. Maybe Walsh with Bashir was one of the first films, or first, let's say, more recognized film in this field. But it's very interesting area of animation to combine animation with documentary, and that's something I'm also doing. That all my latest animated films have some documentary aspects as well, or some real life events, or some objects, or something which I like the idea to combine animation with documentaries.
Okay, last question is this. Which is your favorite animation technique and why? And in which occasion did you learn how to apply it for the first time?
It's hard to say which is the favorite. It always depends of the story. First you have a story and you are fascinated about the story, and then you start to look for a technique and what can you use and which will give some extra value for the story. But somehow I like to work with real materials. I like stop motion, puppet films, to work with real objects. That I'm not really fan of CGI like computer animation. Of course nowadays computer is involved in every aspect of filmmaking, but I like to touch or doing the film some real materials, some real objects. That maybe classical puppet films would be the favorite one, or I would enjoy most working with.
Okay, thank you, we are finished.
Yes, thank you.